And good day. You're flying Tironan's very unfriendly skies. Today we have the 1099, 1092, excuse me. Measurement project that never got off the ground. And conversely, the best plane in the game at this tier. We're flying today with my friend Dave from Down Under, also known as Juan Mendoza. Heck of a nice guy. Love flying with him. And we get to fly together all too rarely, so I am very glad to have the opportunity to fly with him again. And it's always a pleasure to fly the 1092. It's not the most maneuverable, but it's just good enough to get the job done. And it's got excellent guns, it's got good altitude. Got a great co-pilot with me, wingman with me, I should say. Just one of those games that you enjoy playing every second of it, and this is one of them. They come all too rarely. You got to enjoy them when they happen, right? And so while you observe me chasing down aircraft and blasting the heck out of them, uh, something really started to strike me over the course of the evening as we played plane after plane. And it starts at Tier 9, but it continues even more so into Tier 10, which is trying to find a plane with good guns is really difficult. There are only a few lines that have really good guns at Tier 10 and 9. Where the whole concept of the plane's role is so well thought out that it just comes together. And the Yak 19 is one of them. The 1092 is another one of them. The Attacker is another one. And these are not planes with just screaming overwhelming firepower, though the 1092 you can make a case for it. But just that the roles are so well thought out that they fit well. And there's a few at Tier 8 too. The XF5U comes to mind very quickly. You know, it's not a very turny aircraft, but it's very, very quick, and it has great guns, and it performs its role very well, as does this aircraft at Tier 9 and the 1101 at Tier 10. And then there are aircraft that just need so much help. And you're looking at this, and now, granted, he's got a good pilot behind it, and it's a great aircraft that's spec'd out. And the reason it isn't better than it is I don't want to spend a lot of money when I have one aircraft waiting in the wings and another one almost ready to go. And I'm about 12 million silver short of being able to deploy the planes and show you. So, well, 10 million. So obviously, I'm not going to spend a whole lot of money on specializing planes when I have to get more planes out in the production to show you. Now, one of the blessings and one of the curses of producing content and producing videos for you all is that you play everything. You know, you're always in search of another plane, something new to show the folks. So you have a little bit of a different perspective than perhaps other players do. Want to find a couple of planes that they really like and fly those exclusively. That's a different thing. And probably the majority of you, there's a lot of lines that they, don't fly very well or not very enjoyable to play, and you just don't play them. Never explore the line, uh, never really touch them. But for me, the experience has been different. I don't have all the premium planes, but I have flown the majority of the aircraft in the lines by now. There's some Tier 10s that I haven't purchased yet. But below that, if it's out there, I've probably flown it. And there are aircraft out there that work pretty darn well on all the lines. I won't say on all the lines, but in all the tiers, you can find aircraft that very well match what you're trying to do. And then you have this huge majority depending on which tier you're talking about. The early tiers, almost everything works, right? 1, 2, 3. Everything works to some degree. There's very few god-awful aircraft out there. But that begins to change about Tier 4. And you start really noticing at Tier 5. And it doesn't abate. You still see, there's not a tier that you can't name 3, 4, 5 aircraft where they don't work very well. And you know what I'm talking about. There are a lot of aircraft out there in every tier that are just not, for lack of a better word, harmonized to what they do. The Skua comes to mind very quickly. The P-47 line comes to mind very quickly. The KI-43, and I know that some of you love the KI-43, but to me it was a very slow, very underarmed, and it's actually a historical aircraft. I thought it was very well captured for what it was, but just a god-awful aircraft to get caught in. I mean, in a fur ball, it's wonderful, but short of that, it's just a slow-flying target that can maneuver real well. But it kind of is helpless against the sniper aircraft and the boom and zooms. And so you look at this, and I keep thinking, some of these things need to be addressed. Now, I'm not going to go into, well, we can use some examples. Maybe that would help a little bit. The P-47N is limited, 6,000 feet. This is an aircraft that routinely fought at 30,000 feet and was feared at high altitude because it got so nimble and performed so well at high altitude compared to its various adversaries that it was not an aircraft you wanted to see at high altitude. Now, it also was robust, could take a lot of damage, engine could take a lot of damage, worked as a fighter bomber, but somewhere along there, they lost the flavor of the aircraft as it actually was. There was a reason why the U.S. bought and deployed so many P-47s. Brutally powerful aircraft, capable of all sorts of things, and somehow the flavor of that entire aircraft just kind of washed into mediocrity. You have interceptor aircraft. The J-7W2 is another one of my poster children of aircraft that are just not what they're supposed to be. Okay, Jeff, so what is it supposed to be? Well, the J-7W2 1 lines should, to me, be relatively quick aircraft And I don't want to change the armament. Believe it or not, I do not want to change the armament. Because what they were designed to do was fly up to 25 to 30,000 feet, be maneuverable, use those short-range cannons to blast a B-29 out of the sky, get back to base, rearm, and do it again. So what do you need in an interceptor? It needs to be fast. It needs to be only as maneuverable as it takes to do the job. It needs to have the altitude to reach its targets, and it needs to be very efficient in taking down its target. That's what an interceptor is. It's not designed to turn. Typically, you're not going to be in... There are cases where in the European Air War where an intercepting aircraft would have to contend with escorting fighters. Then that you start getting to be, you just need a really good fighter with high altitude capabilities and enough armament to get the job done, but it's got to be maneuverable enough to deal with the escorting fighters. Hence you get things like the TA-152. Okay, well that makes sense. You see where I'm going with this. Now we had, by the way, I got Winged Legend, the Kazidub Award, and Unstoppable. So we had a really good outing here. But I'm going to kind of urge World of Warplanes to take a look at their lines again and their planes and start fixing them. All right, there are a lot of aircraft that, having flown them right now, I have no intention of ever getting into again. I have lists of aircraft I just think are not fun to fly. They're not competitive. They don't do their role well. And who wants to be involved in that? There are a lot of things that need to be addressed, but instead of doing some of the stuff they do, I would like to see them go back and go through their lines and start saying, does this make sense? You have 2G's point. Good aircraft, nothing wrong with it, but would you rather have a Hellcat? The XP-72, what the heck is that even doing in the American line? Doesn't work all that well. I could say the same about the Mosquito and Hornet. Just did not like them very much. Are they okay? Yeah, they're okay. But I think it needs to be rethought a little bit. Listen, I appreciate y'all spending some time with me today, listening to my thoughts and ramblings. Please remember to be safe out there. We'll see you tomorrow. Have a great day. Bye-bye.